Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be looking at another dystopian European nation circling the drain, whose establishment, like in every other Western nation, clearly hates those it means to influence and govern. And of course that nation being Germany in today's video, where the leftist Stern magazine is now pushing for mandatory conscription in that country to get the young people, not to defend the nation, but so-called freedom and diversity. Stern's piece, written by Tillman Gerwein, argues that Germany needs to bring back the draft, and the logic being that the United States might not always play and pay to be its perpetual geopolitical bodyguard. Gerwein says the country's been lounging in a dollhouse-like cozy, carefree fantasy, and he believes it's time to wake up. He wants young Germans ready for future conflicts, which of course is a sharp pivot from the leftists' rags days of protesting NATO at every turn. The war in the Ukraine has then obviously flipped the script, and now the Stern's gone full neocon. But the reaction online and elsewhere has been brutal, with hundreds of people tearing into the idea, and not only tearing into it, tearing it to shreds. It's a push that's dividing the nation when the Germans began to hate the thought of being dragged back to militarization. Speaking of tough shifts, Der Stern's asking Germans to swap comfort for duty. Well, that's no small change. It's like trying to break any bad habit. It takes effort, focus, and maybe a little help. And that brings me to our sponsor, which is perfect for navigating life's pivots. Fume, the sponsor of this video, offers an innovative, non-addictive flavored air device distinct from vapes with no electronics, vapor, or nicotine, and is a very cost-effective alternative that has helped over 300,000 people build better habits with enjoyable flavors like crisp mint and orange vanilla. Designed for portability and, well, to be dexterously played with, and with flavors like herbal teas rather than combustion-based habits, well, it helps support you in building better routines. So go to tryfume.com/blackpigeon or scan the QR code on the screen now to receive your free topper and journey pack, enhancing the experience of breaking habits with a very satisfying substitute. I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised. Now, back to Germany's conscription clash. Der Stern's not only asking for a mindset shift, they're talking about rallying a whole generation in the country that has been in the process of a massive demographic change. Germany's identity is evolving, for lack of a better word. It's evolving fast, making Stern's plan an almost impossible sell. New data shows that Germany has admitted 8.4 million people in just 15 years. That's 10% of its pre-existing population. It's a massive demographic shift by any measure and is reshaping everything from culture to politics. But Stern believes that native Germans should now concern themselves with defending its new diverse population, and that its native youth should be made to defend the new Germany. But uniting such a demoralized nation is not something that they can just turn on and turn off. And here's the thing, they're not meant to defend the nation, but are supposed to fight for diversity itself. And what does that even mean? Guarding the new falafel place down the street? Well, Gerwein calls for heroism over hedonism, more duty, less selfie culture. He wants to protect freedom and diversity. Think multicultural festivals or global art exhibits, perhaps. But they're nervous. That being the establishment, they're nervous about nationalism and fear it could wake the so-called ghosts of the past. And what is interesting is that the cover on Der Stern, because of course, has two white kids. And this doesn't scream the diversity or multicultural utopia that lies just over the vibrantly enriched rainbow. And people are calling that out. It's a gap in reality that's raising doubts when the Germans began to hate the disconnect between the sermon and the reality of their nation. And Der Stern's demands on the youth of Germany, well, it's hitting a brick wall because nobody wants to sign up. A recent Forza poll says that only 17% of Germans would fight for their country. Conservative youth, for their part, often AfD voters, feel that the new Germany not only shuns them, but in fact despises them. So why die for a country that's no longer yours and that you have no voice in? Left-leaning youth, for their part, and other assorted riffraff, raised on a diet that the state is perpetually evil, well, they're not about to volunteer either. Stern's readers, well, they're obviously blunt as well. One ex-user wrote, "Why fight for a country you can't be proud of?" Gervine, of course, is safely past the draft age and won't be suiting up anytime soon, and this hasn't gone unnoticed by Der Stern readers. Also, with 8.4 million new Germans in the mix, rallying anyone to defend a post-nation state that, like every other Western nation, is now basically nothing more than an economic zone is a tall order at best. And of course, Der Stern says that these native kids, it's their duty not to defend Germany, but the new Germany's diversity. So imagine being a young man and then being frog marched to some trench to defend the safety of millions of people that have just shown up. It's a tough pitch when the trust in the establishment is razor thin. And this is when the Germans began to hate the elites preaching sacrifice from their cozy offices. Another sore spot is security, as many Germans are fed up with what feels like endless migrant terrorism. Attacks in Munich, Magdeburg, Dresden, too many to list in this video, by failed asylum seekers who are seldom deported, and with images of mangled children's buggies or destroyed Christmas markets, while they're leaving their scars on the collective society's psyche, as many feel as though the system and the national regime has completely failed them. Terrified news outlets, of course, are saying that these tragedies are pushing anti-immigration backlashes and that the Germans must accept this change to their nation in the name of diversity. It's a raw deal when the Germans began to hate the insecurity that is haunting their cities. But of course, they're doubling down. Der Stern's core pitch, conscription's inevitability. Well, they write that when conscription comes, they, being the Bundeswehr, will be all of us. Gervine, for his part, is calling it a turning point, Germany's first real defense debate in decades. But what's the cause? Freedom, they say. But critics do point out the endless speech laws and the never-ending attempts at banning the AfD, the second largest party in the country. The establishment is walking a tightrope, obviously. They want to inspire a diverse, individualistic population, but then want them not to become at all patriotic. They want kids to fight for ideals like diversity, think safeguarding a pluralistic future. But terrorism fears, economic woes, and a massive demographic shift make unity almost an impossibility. And it's no wonder why the idea is flopping when the Germans began to hate the vision the establishment and its organs have forced upon much of the population. Germany's conscription debate, ignited by Stern, shows a nation wrestling with its soul. Economic struggles, security fears, and a seismic demographic shift make any kind of unification of this economic zone, governed by a sequestered elite, improbable. Stern's vision of a united youth defending multiculturalism and its new migrant society isn't clicking, not when trust is so fragile. For conscription to land, Germany needs a cause that pulls everyone together. But can anyone provide that cause to the youth of Germany, or even give one for that matter? So thanks very much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up on your way out and check to see that you're still subscribed. Also remember to check out the sponsor of today's video, Fume. and their amazing product that helps one pivot to better habits. Links, of course, are in the description, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.